So, hey, thanks for joining us today. I'm so excited to be with you. And I know a lot of people are going to be watching the replay and won't be able to be on here live. And I wanted to just introduce myself. My name is Stephanie Richardson, and in the spirit of being a certified coach, speaker, and trainer with the John Maxwell team, I wanted to share with you some information that I have learned the last 3 days. I have been in a John Maxwell virtual conference, and so I have lots of great information that I got exposed to. So just know this is not my my info. I'm just sharing with you some things that I have learned. And what I'm going to be sharing with you today comes from Dr. Deborah Tillman. And I don't know if you know anything about her, so I'll just share a little bit about her with you. So she's the author of Stepping Out on Faith, How to Open a Quality Childcare Center. And she wrote a book and started a childcare facility after she was frustrated with the lack of the care that her son was getting. She basically went in and saw him being propped up, a bottle propped up, and he was sucking air, and it was just a traumatic situation for her. She's like, I'm done. So she quit her job and started her own childcare place, and she has been a sought after speaker. She's been on CNN and Fox News and ABC, NBC, the Hallmark Channel, Lifetime, you name it. She's been on everything. She also wrote a book called Parenting on Purpose in 2014, a menu for raising children in today's society. So she not only has all of these accolades, she is on faculty at the John Maxwell team. And so she did a training with us, and I just thought that it was very timely in the middle of where we are. And I just, at this point, I want to share everything I can. My heart is just to be a light to everyone right now and encourage them. And when I heard this information, I thought I have to get this out to as many parents who want to hear it, because I think it's just really pertinent right now. So she shared some tips on navigating through adversity as a parent, which I think we all can use right now. So I wanted to share those with you. So the first thing she shared is to be grateful. And that's not new information to any of us, and probably a lot of this won't be, but it'll be good reminders. And she said, be grateful when your 401k is dwindling. Be grateful in times of lack. Be grateful when your kids are driving you crazy because you're homeschooling right now, right? Not only be grateful in times of, great abundance, but times when there is lack, and to be mindful of being grateful as a parent. So she reminded us that gratefulness and joy don't live on the same block as negativity. Gratefulness and joy don't live on the same block as negativity. And she talked about the journey of the children of Israel coming out of Egypt and how they continued to murmur and complain, and we don't have any water, we don't have any food. And then they got water, they got manna, they got quail. And she said that they weren't grateful in the middle of all of that. They just weren't, and they just kept thinking everything was going to be better if they were back in Egypt, right, as slaves and hostage. So we need to be grateful. And one of the practices that I did a couple of years ago that served me really well the year that I did it was I wrote in my journal every single day 3 things I was grateful for. And it might be something really small, like the flowers in my yard just were so fragrant today, or they were so beautiful. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything huge, but being mindful of those little things make them important and make us grateful for them. So that was the first tip of hers, to be grateful. The second tip is to adjust your attitude toward fear. Adjust your attitude toward fear. Every successful person has gone through fear at some point, right? Haven't we all experienced fear at some point in our life? Right. So it's important to normalize that. It's not that we can't feel fear right now. We can feel it, but we just have to realize it's like any other emotion, right? Like joy or happiness, or it's just another emotion. So what we want to make sure that we do is that we allow fear when we feel it, because we're going to feel it. We're going to allow it to fuel us into action and not paralyze us. Because what happens a lot of times is people get afraid and they get paralyzed. And I was just talking to someone earlier this week, and she was telling me how paralyzed she had been with her business and how she had not been able to act because of fear. And I encouraged her to just take a small step and just act, right? And guess what? She did, and she started getting good results, and that encouraged her. She kept acting, and she got even better results. So allow that fear to fuel us versus paralyze us. And one thing we've got to keep in mind, our kids are watching. Our kids are watching in this situation to see how we handle this. So what message are we teaching our children? Are we teaching them that when adversity comes, that we're scared, we're fearful, we talk about all the negative things that are going to happen or could happen? Or do we talk faith with our kids? Do we say, hey, yeah, some things have changed, and I know this is our new normal, right? And it's not the way that we all want it to be right now. But what are the blessings that have come out of this? What are we learning from this, right? More family time, more time eating at home, around the dinner table, more time to get things done around our house that we've been meaning to do, that we haven't had time to do, right? More time to connect. But to really make sure that we're watching how we respond to our children, and that we are not talking about fear with them, that we're talking about faith and how we know God's going to provide and God's going to take care of us, and right? So that's the second thing, is adjust your attitude toward fear. It's okay to feel it, but what do you do with it? Third thing is make a difference in others' lives. Make a difference in others' lives. Brenda, you were just mentioning a minute ago that there are several elderly people in your neighborhood. So I'm sure that there are things on your list that you are doing to check in with them, maybe go to the store for them, your kids can write encouraging notes to them, right? What can we do right now to make a difference in others' lives? So who can we call? Who can we reach out to? Family, friends, people from church, people from work. So Sunday night, my small group from church, we all got on Zoom like this, and we just shared what was going on with each one of us, and we prayed over each other. And it was so powerful just to connect that way. Last night, one of my friends from church had something on Google Hangouts, and a bunch of girls got on and just visited with each other, right? So what can we do to connect with people right now? What can we do to make a difference in other people's lives? So we have to think about, instead of this is all being done to us, everything is being done for us, right? Everything is being done for the good of us. And that's what we have to keep in mind and tell our children. The fourth thing is to eliminate the weights. Eliminate the weights, like weights that you lift, okay? So we want to honor the past, but we don't want to look back. We can't move forward if we're always looking in behind us, can we? If we're always looking in the rearview mirror, we can't move forward. And so we want to make sure that if there are any weights that are holding us down or holding us back, that we get rid of those. So what are some of those weights? Anger, resentment, unforgiveness. So maybe there's some anger between you and a sibling, or you and one of your children, or you and your parents, or whatever. We need to resolve those things. We need to let go of those weights. This is a good time to let go of those weights. And if your kids have weights that they're carrying between each other, this is a good time for them to let go of those, right? Because what we don't want to happen is family members to not be speaking to each other. You know, going years without speaking to each other, siblings that don't talk, adult siblings that don't talk, or parents that don't talk to their children, adult parents and adult children that don't talk. We don't want that to happen. So we've got to eliminate those weights. Fifth thing is commit to consistency. Commit to consistency. Now more than ever, our children need consistency in their life. They need some routine. They need some type of schedule. Even if it's, you know, a little bit of schoolwork, play, family time, cooking time, card games together, whatever, there needs to be some consistency. Children thrive on consistency. They want consistency. They thrive on that. And so we want to make sure that we're trying to provide as much consistency as we can in the middle of this. And one of the things that we want to make sure we're doing is that we're affirming our children regularly to build their self-confidence. It's so important, especially when you have teenagers. It's easy to do when they're little, but when you have teenagers, it's really important to touch them on a daily basis. To touch them, because they sometimes tend to isolate or be by themselves, and part of that is just natural psychological development of, you know, distancing themselves, becoming independent, getting ready to go to college. But we want to make sure that we are conscious about touching them on a physical, you know, touching their arm, giving them a hug, and pouring into them and saying, I see great things in you. I see great things in you. And so one of the things that she said that she did with her son is she said, every day I would tell my son, and he's in his 20s now, there's greatness in you. There's greatness in you. Every single day she would tell him that. She would touch him and she would say, there is greatness in you. And she said some days it was really hard to tell him there was greatness in him, but she did it anyway. She said, you can't expect your child to have a high self-esteem if you don't consistently pour into that, right? So we want to create that culture of care with our kids. And one way we can do that right now is caring for each other, caring for siblings, caring for family members, writing notes to maybe someone in the neighborhood or elderly or family members that we can't visit. Those are some very positive activities kids can do right now. The sixth thing, and this is really for you as a parent, is to have a strong why. What drives you? What motivates you? What makes you get up in the morning? If you know that why, and it's strong and it's clear, something like this is just a bump in the road. It's not a total setback and disaster. It's just a bump in the road because you know what your vision is and you're clear about it, right? And just know that through trials like this, on the other side of it, there's always a testimony, isn't there? There's always a testimony on the other side of trials. So that's the 6th one. 7th one is adapt to change. Adapt to change. I mentioned the word new normal a minute ago. This is our new normal. Things will never be the same after this. People will look at things very differently. Businesses are being forced to think about how can they maintain and obtain clients in a different way. We're never going to look at things the same. People are being forced to stay home and work from home who have never worked from home before. They may look at things in a totally different way when this is over, right? So we have to be flexible. We have to adapt to the change as parents and be good role models for that. Number 8, never quit. Some days we may feel like quitting, but winners never quit. And Maxwell wrote a great book that if you haven't read it, it's a great one. It's called Failing Forward. And it's a different perspective of looking at failure as a lesson, as an opportunity to grow and not a total disaster. So what lessons are we learning right now through this situation that we're in? And number 9, go through the process. Go through the process. This is just a process that we're going through, step by step, by step by step. And so 2 things that I want to share with you that if you think of, they go through a process to become something greater. One is a caterpillar. Caterpillar goes through a process, right, to become the beautiful butterfly. Diamond. How does a diamond start out? As coal. It goes through a process to become a diamond. So go through the process. Be the diamond, be the butterfly at the end of this. Number 10, execution is everything. Execution is everything. We can't pay somebody else to do our push-ups and get muscle, can we? That'd be nice. I'd gladly pay somebody to do ab work for me to get a 6-pack, right? So execution is everything. We just have to take small baby steps every single day that we know will get us to the bigger goal, right? Whether it's weight or exercise or healthy eating all around how we look, or whether it's making good choices around working our business and not binge watching Netflix. Number 11, and there's 12 total. Remember you first as a parent. Remember you first. Not that I'm knocking any dads, but moms tend to have a lot of mom guilt. And just like we know from being on the airplane and we hear the safety announcement, we have to put our mask on first, right? So you have to put your mask on first so that you can help your family and you can help everyone else. So what are you doing right now for self-care? What are you doing to take care of yourself? We only have one temple, one time, one chance. What are you doing to eat right? What are you doing to exercise? How are you taking care of your mind? What are you feeding your mind? So we've got to take care of ourselves and look at what you're doing for self-care. And it's not something we should feel guilty about spending time doing. It's something that's necessary to better serve our children, to be a better parent. Now, if we all sat around and, got massages all day long and didn't do anything else and ignored our responsibilities, that'd be different. But we're not talking about that. And the last one is set yourself on fire. Set yourself on fire. Find out what's lighting that fire inside of you right now, what's motivating you, because each one of us is enough just as we are. Did you hear that? You are enough just as you are. You are fully resourced to do whatever you need to do. We just have to do it. So those were her 12 principles that I wanted to share with you about parenting through this adversity. But I'd love to hear from you if you have any thoughts about any of them that just resonated with you. And like I said, it's not brand new information that none of us have ever heard before, but some good reminders. Anything speak to you, to your heart? Any of them in particular?
I mean, lots of them for sure. I mean, they were all great reminders, but, you know, number 10, just remembering to take care of myself and, you know, first, but I am, you know, I do, for the most part, I feel like I eat well and, you know, things like that. But of course, you know, there will be times where, you know, you slip and don't, you know, you eat the junk food or you drink the Coke or whatever. But, you know, I just have to remind myself to, you know, that I am the mama and I do need to take care of myself first. And instead of a lot of times putting them or my husband like ahead of myself. Because, you know, the mom guilt is definitely strong sometimes.
Sure.
So.
And when you take care of yourself, then you're a better wife and you're a better mom.
Yeah. I definitely feel better, like, you know, if I get up and like during all this, but like, I mean, there are days where, you know, you want to stay in your pajamas or just whatever, but like, I do feel so much better if I get up and like change clothes and brush my hair and put a little bit of makeup on. I mean, not like all out, but just something. And that doesn't happen every day, but I definitely feel a lot better when I do those things. You know, so.
No. You're exactly right. And that's so important. And a lot of research studies have been done to say just that we do better, we feel better emotionally when we get up, we take a shower, we dress with, you know, not sweatpants and a t-shirt, but we put maybe a little bit of makeup on, but we feel like a person, a person going to work, right?
Yeah. Because I straightened my hair a little bit today and put a little bit of makeup on. I'm like, oh, there I am. You know, like, as opposed to looking in the mirror, you know, and my hair's like, you know, I sleep on it wet. It's like crazy. And there's been some days I'm like, I don't know that I brushed my hair today. But so I'm trying to be better about doing that every day and just trying to definitely makes you feel better and more motivated and just have a better positive outlook on the day to get up and get going and do stuff. I mean, not that you have to like do a bunch of stuff, but just a little bit.
Yeah. It's a great point, Margie. Thank you for sharing and being so transparent. I appreciate that. Brenda, were there any that spoke to you in particular?
Well, as a parent, a lot of this I think was awesome, Stephanie, because a lot of things in business, I have to remember I can relate to my family life. And I am spiritual. So, I mean, my family, we watch church on the recording. And I think that's important for my kids. But I loved when you talked about the commit to consistency. Because even right now, my kids, not our kids. Yeah. Well, they are all our kids, right? A village raises everybody, right? But they have not started school back yet. We don't start till next week. And then they'll be home. So they really have felt, because they told them very clearly that we're on till the 30th. And so it's been very hard, like trying to, okay, let's have not time. But you know what I loved that spoke to me the most, that actually just made my heart burst, and it's actually going to bring tears to my eyes, that I'm going to be doing right after I get off this call. My son is my youngest, and he is definitely my strong-willed child. And I love him with all my heart, but he wears me out. I'm just going to tell you, by the end of the day, I pray to God to give me the strength the next day again. Mm-hmm. And so every day I need to tell him more, because so many times I'm like, don't do that. Just wait a minute. Don't do that. You know, and it's all negative. it's like, I'm not trying to be negative. Don't get me wrong. I feel like I'm very good about touching my kids, and I love them, and they know that, and I scratch their back at night. You know what I mean? That's all good. But I'm going to remember, and I'm really going to start to do this, pouring into them that we see great things. I think that's so important, especially now when I'm still trying to work, but then they're home with me, like letting them know how much they mean to me, and that I do see greatness in them, and they can do whatever they want in this. I think the other things too are awesome, but that really spoke to me because I really felt that was something I needed probably right now. So.
I love that. And thank you for just being vulnerable and sharing, that that's a challenge and you have a challenging relationship with him. I think we all go through as parents times in their, development that are more challenging than others. I know when my daughter was 12, I thought I was not going to get through it. I didn't think I was going to get through 4. I didn't think I was going to get through 4. I didn't think I was going to get through 12. And after that, things got better, but it was just a really rough season. And I think it's okay to normalize that there are some seasons that are just rougher than others with your kids. And you just know that it's going to be, that's just one of those rough seasons. And it's hard to look for the positive when you're in that rough season with them. But we have to be even more mindful of it because they feel like everything we're saying is critical or they're doing everything wrong, when what they really need to hear from us is something they're doing right and what we see in them, right?
Right.
And how characteristics we see in them that God's going to use in them in the future, right?
And I do struggle with that too, like with my teenager that's eating lunch right here. But I do feel like I'm at times constantly like, I feel like because he's 13 and then we have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old that he needs to be, they're not all, we can't all discipline them all the same and all those things. And that he need, they're looking up to him and it's a lot of pressure on him as a 13-year-old. And I feel like sometimes, maybe it's a little too much sometimes, he is still a kid and, even though like he can do a lot more things than the others, but, that I definitely try to be more mindful of praising him when he does do all the good things instead of like, why didn't you do this? Do this right. Do this way. Like I feel like I'm just constantly being like that. So I'm not, but I think, like you said, Stephanie, this is just a phase and we will get through it and we'll be stronger on the other side. And, it's just you have to be more mindful of what you say and how you react to stuff. And but when you're in the middle of it, it's hard. You don't think about things like that until you're alone or, whatever. And you think back on the day, you're like, man, I wish I would have done that different. But, you can learn from that and then try to do better the next day,
Absolutely. And one thing that has helped me that I'll just share with you, because I have had some really, tough moments with my daughter as she's turning 18 next week, raising her. There have been some times that, I failed miserably as a parent. And like you said, you look back at it and you go, why did I just say that? Or why did I do that? We all have those moments. But just I think to know that it's okay to acknowledge that to them and say, I messed up. I didn't handle this right. It's okay. So we're teaching them that they don't have to be perfect and that parents are not perfect and that we make mistakes as well. Right. So I think it's important to do that as we're raising them and guiding them and to say, I'm sorry, I messed up or I lost my temper or, I shouldn't have said that negatively. I should have said this or whatever. It's okay. It's okay to say that because that makes us real. Then they don't have this, view of mom and dad is never doing anything wrong. They learn from us as a parent how to be a parent, right? How to be a parent in the future. So,
right. And teaches them how to say, when they realize, oh, maybe they did something that, oh yeah, well, I shouldn't have said that way. I'm sorry, because they learn from us and they're watching every little move we make. when you think they're not even watching or listening, they are.
Absolutely.
One thing that I'm doing with, well, and I just started doing this because I thought that I could never do it before, but now I realize that in my social work days when I would tell parents to take a break, when it's enough, I'm very clear now with the youngest, and I'm just like, you know what? I need a little break because I feel like I'm going to say something or do something that I don't really want to do. I just know right now I'm not sure what I need to do. And so I've been finding myself being able to stop and then go, like I'll say, go to my room. I just give me 15 minutes. Just give me 15 minutes. And then I'm going to give you 15 minutes because right now I want to yell at you. And so I think that I hadn't done that for so long, but I realized that really helps me because I do agree. My kids know dang well that, I'm not perfect. I'm never going to be perfect. They're never perfect. I mean, the reality is nobody's perfect and we're all different. And that's the best thing. So I love that too. And I feel like the apologizing. Yeah, I've definitely apologized too to my kids. And
I think taking a break is a really good strategy. And in that break, what I have done in the past is just pray and just say, okay, Lord, give me the words to say, give me the knowledge to know how to handle this, right? And just pray about it and ask for guidance, ask for wisdom. And that gives me time to reflect and not react, right? By doing that. All right, any other comments you want to share? Any thoughts you want to share before we wrap up?
I thank you, Stephanie, because I really feel like anybody that's listening to this too, it was amazing because it just remembers what we can be doing and to help our kids too, because I know that like right now I'm like, oh, it's no big deal, we're staying home, whatever. But they need to be able to talk to me about things too, if they are worried, or if they're so. But I think this whole thing was great. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I'll post the recording link, and then feel free to copy the YouTube link and share it with any of your friends from church or anybody that you want to share it with. Okay.
Well, I'll be sharing it for sure. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye, guys. Thanks for being on here. Take care.
Have a good day.
You too.